Hello. When you were raised, how was your sex education? Did you have a healthy sex education that was a benefit for you? Or were you sexually suppressed? Were you sexually humiliated? Were you sexually abused? Or did they even try to destroy your sexuality? You know, if this happened to you, please know that you are not alone. I'm Freya Joy-Tinbergen, a psychologist and sexologist, and today I'm going to talk about sexual gaslighting. Sexual gaslighting is a taboo, and actually there wasn't even a real expression for it. So for the moment I adopt the term sexual gaslighting. Maybe later we need another term for it, but I think it's an adequate expression for this type of problem. Sexual gaslighting is a highly traumatic form of abuse for the victims. Victims may be adults, maybe children, could be boys, could be girls, could be women, could be men. So, what is sexual gaslighting actually? Now, to be able to tell you about what sexual gaslighting is, actually, it's important to speak about brainwashing, because gaslighting is a form of brainwashing, and there's a difference with brainwashing, because gaslighting actually is a hidden, insidious way of brainwashing, while brainwashing itself usually is very overt. Brainwashing is done usually for political reasons, sometimes for religious reasons, and when people are brainwashed, usually that's done very overt, like an American who is captured by the Russians, and then the Russians are brainwashing the guy to become a good communist. So he has to give up his more American political point of view and view of life. So that's brainwashing. But gaslighting is much more a covert brainwashing practice. It's hidden, and the goals of it are very hidden. Like the communist brainwashing, well, it's very clear, because in Russia they believe you have to become a good communist. So there's nothing hidden about the goals either. But by gaslighting, the goals are hidden, especially the goals and the purposes. And the people who are brainwashed usually know it from the start. They are very much aware of it. But gaslighting is different. Gaslighting is definitely a form of brainwashing. It's a form of manipulating a victim. And usually it's done by pathological narcissists. And it's a form of brainwashing that aims at destroying the mental health of the victim. So what a gaslighter does is continuously deny and distort the truth of the victim. The victim observes a thing, and then the gaslighter says, no, that didn't happen. You can't have seen that because it didn't happen. Something else happened, and the abuser will make a story about that. The victim has a particular feeling about what happened, and then that feeling is disqualified. It's impossible that you're sad, or it's impossible that you are afraid. It's just not, and it's not true. You're just telling me something, but it's not true. And the thoughts and the ideas and the needs and the wishes and the desires, but also the interpretations of what happened, and these might be very rational interpretations of things that really truly have happened, but the gaslighter is continuously denying it, distorting it, reframing it in a way to the point where the one who is gaslighted starts to actually doubt their own sanity. They start to doubt their mental health. And when a gaslighting campaign is done successfully, the victim believes that he or she has become psychotic, and he or she doesn't believe their own senses anymore. They don't believe what they see, they don't believe what they hear, they don't believe what they feel, they don't believe what they smell, they don't believe what they taste. Everything is they're doubting themselves, and they check everything by others. Did you experience this? I did see that. Did you see that too? You know, and it's a form in which the victim becomes more and more disempowered and more dependent on what the abuser is doing. And the abuser is doing it for hidden goals, usually very secret. And the form of manipulation is done in a way that the gaslightee, the victim, the target of the abuser, is not aware. He might feel, or she might feel, that there's something wrong, something is not okay, but they don't believe themselves anymore. So therefore, they surrender to the pathological vision of being psychotic when they are not. And then that idea is abused by the abuser as proof. You see, you're crazy. I told you. That's gaslighting. The word gaslighting actually comes from a movie. And the movie was produced, I think, in 1940 or 1944, something in that time. And that movie is called Gaslight. And in that movie, a husband is gaslighting his wife to the point where she believes that she's insane. And he has a hidden motive for that comes out at the end of the movie. So if you want to know more about gaslighting, if you want to have an example, go see the movie Gaslight. And if you want to have more detailed information about what gaslighting is, go to Ross Rosenberg. He has a YouTube channel with many videos about narcissist abuse and also about gaslighting. Now, there are several forms of gaslighting. Ross Rosenberg described actually mental gaslighting. But what I want to talk about is sexual gaslighting. That's a different form of gaslighting. And the purpose is a little bit different. In mental gaslighting, the abuser tries to destroy the mental health of the victim. And in sexual gaslighting, the abuser tries to destroy the sexual health of the victim. Now, what is sexual gaslighting? Let me give you my definition. Sexual gaslighting is a form of manipulation that is designed most times by pathological narcissists and antisocial personalities. And it's meant to set up the victim against their own sexuality, against their own needs, wishes, and desires in the area of sexuality, often as well in the area of love. To have the victim fear and reject their own sexuality for hidden goals and purposes of the abusers. Some forms of sexual gaslighting may be very overt and may be driven by political or religious reasons or by economical reasons, and it might even be integrated in governmental racistic abuse. It might even be integrated in the law in some cases. Sexual gaslighting might also take place in partner relationships. It might take place in parent-child relationships in which one of the parents sexually gaslights one or more of their children. It might be, for instance, a mother who is sexually gaslighting her daughter or who is sexually gaslighting her son. When someone is sexually gaslighted or gaslit, they're usually mentally gaslit as well. And it has tremendous consequences for the victims. Let me give you some of the consequences for the victims of sexual gaslighting. It starts with the installment of feelings of guilt and fear, and shame, totally unjustified, because when children grow up, they shouldn't be fearing their own sexuality at all. But the fear and shame can be so tremendously overwhelming that a child might even resist going to sex education at school. Another thing is that it's very destructive when that person later has a love relationship. There's going to be a lot of problems. So the quality of love relationships is impaired. And another thing is the development of psychosomatic sexual complaints without a medical reason. Let me give some examples. One of them is vaginismus, and that's for me a very important subject because for 20 years I've been treating women to overcome vaginismus. But the people who come to me, they often have had a certain form of sexual gaslighting to a certain degree, because there are degrees in that as well. But vaginismus is an example of a complaint that can develop as an effect of sexual gaslighting. And for the ones who don't know what vaginismus is, it's actually when a woman is contracted so much out of fear, out of stress, or other reasons that she's unable to relax. And when she's unable to relax, she can also not relax the muscles in her pelvic area. And as an effect, she cannot have anything in her vagina. It could be a finger or the penis of her partner, her own finger or his finger. She cannot have it in. And as an effect, they cannot have sexual intercourse. So that will be the installment of a real sexual problems, which might stay for many years before it's solved. Because if you have such a problem and you go seek a therapist and they don't know about sexual gaslighting, they try to give you simple relaxation exercises and they gave you maybe a little bit sex education, and then they expect you to have solved the problem. But when there is narcissistic abuse, the problem usually is a lot more complex, and this is not enough then in these cases to solve the problem. When there's no sexual gaslighting and when there's no gaslighting, then maybe the problem is solvable very easy and quickly, and maybe it only takes 2 weeks or 10 days or 3 weeks or something before the problem is solved. But with this form of abuse, that that can really destroy a love life, sometimes for decades. So it's a horrible practice. A second thing that might happen is the development of painful sex. And in men, it might be the development of premature ejaculation. So that also prevents intercourse or has only, as an effect, extremely short intercourse. Or there might develop erection problems without medical cause, again. So the effects of sexual gaslighting are tremendous. And what you can say actually is that when a narcissist is gaslighting their targets, they're installing mental disorders. And quite often these disorders can be diagnosed in a DSM. So we are talking about very, very specific forms of emotional and mental abuse. In sexual gaslighting practices, they are installing diagnosable psychosexual pathology. So this is really, these are extreme forms of emotional abuse in adults and in children. People need to be informed, and children need to be informed about these things, so everybody learns how to protect themselves against these horrible practices. Now, if you want to know more about sexual gaslighting, I can tell you that I'm going to make more videos about this, about the various forms of sexual gaslighting, and I will give several examples of sexual gaslighting. So if you want to know more about it, just subscribe to my YouTube channel, Freya Joy Tinbergen, and then real soon you will find my other videos about this subject as well. Bye bye!